Guys, this is such an interesting point in VR history. Right now, I am standing in a world created by a wonderful artist. This is Mushroom Loft, and I love this map. It's witchy, it's cute, it's fun. And I'm looking at it through the lens of the Vive Focus Vision, a sort of halfway between a PC VR and a standalone VR headset, using Vive trackers to track my feet, my waist, my wrist ish, and there's still the controllers. My face is being tracked using a tracker that is built into the headset. My eyes are being tracked through trackers built into the headset. Actually, the face tracker is added on. But the point is, I am tracking so much of my body to just put a virtual representation of myself into this world. And as I work on solving the last problem, which are the hands on this headset, which, by the way, I do have something coming very soon that I'm hoping is the final solution to, having good hand tracking. I am left wondering, have we built a house of cards here in VR? And I know it's a bit somber to think about, but could this all just go away? Would this all just go away? And I kind of just want to talk about it because let's just say there were some interesting developments that, when I was looking into certain things, really arose some concern for me. So let's get right into it. Hello and welcome. My name is Wolfy, and you're watching Lesser Than Cake. Now, this is going to be a little bit of a slower, less upbeat video. And that's because I have some concerns that, let's just say, I'm worried a little bit about this, the future of PC VR. And my reason for this is not just doom and gloom. There's actually sort of something that happened. So right now I use the Vive Focus Vision. It is not a bad headset by any means. It is a high resolution, high refresh rate. It's got decent features, eye and face tracking, which I kind of talked about in the intro. And those features are great. And I really do mean, like, I want more devices with this type of feature set. But I was looking into the Big Screen Beyond as a PC VR headset to have to just throw on, get in here, and maybe set it up with eye and face tracking. I found third-party face trackers, which I didn't know existed, which is great since HTC discontinued theirs. There's even mounts that would be sold with that for the Big Screen Beyond. All great. It's a little bit expensive, but it would have been an upgrade over my initial Index. I would have been able to use my Knuckles controllers from my Index and my base stations. And while I was setting all that up, two of my base stations died, one after the other. The blinky red light of death. So I was like, okay, what would it cost to replace them? Because my base stations are 4, maybe 5 years old. They definitely ran their course with their warranty, and they definitely have enough flight hours to be considered, well used at this point. And so I looked into it, and I went to Valve's store page. They're sold out. The controllers are sold out. The headset's sold out. Base stations are sold out. I was like, well, that's weird. But that happens regularly. I check back in a month. Still sold out. Another month goes by. Still sold out. So then I'm starting to question it. And I start Googling. I'm like, did Valve discontinue the Valve Index? And Google's AI review said, yes, they did. I looked into it. And that isn't entirely true, because this is based off of the testimony of one person who claims to have insider knowledge. And supposedly all the index, the controllers, the base stations were all discontinued a year ago and are only now just selling through. And here's the thing, right? I don't know how much of that is true because Valve hasn't said anything. They haven't said we've, quietly discontinued this. We've done this. We've done this. Instead, they are just sold out. Now, luckily, Valve worked with HTC on the base stations, and you can buy the base stations through them. HTC is charging you an extra $50, so not exactly the best option, but for $400, I can replace my base stations, then buy the $1,200 headset plus an additional $300 face tracker just to get here, but with hand tracking. And so I was a little bit perplexed by everything that happened there. And then I really started to think about it though. What happens if Valve dips out of the VR market? Like, I don't think Steam VR is going away. They're still developing this. They're still using this. They're still working with HTC, which is, the company that makes this headset. So I don't think software-wise anything's happening. But we've been hearing about Deckard forever. And the rumors we've heard about Deckard are inside-out tracking. No base stations. Loss of the finger tracking through the proximity sensors. And instead there's like extra buttons on the controller that would equal to about the same number of digits you have on your hand. And while I do think that is a kind of okay solution, it is a little bit of a silly solution, but it's an okay solution. I almost feel like we're regressing a little bit, right? And the thing that is kind of silly is like inside out tracking is still better. Like you saw that little jitter there. That is because the controller lost tracking to the headset. Even though I have the full body trackers on my wrist right now, the controllers still take priority. Digressing. When it comes down to like the current VR market, Valve is a huge part of it. The Index is a huge part of it. And it is a huge part of the inside out tracking market. And the idea that they might just go away silently and quietly, well, is a very Valve thing to do. It's a little bit scary because once you get rid of that, all that leaves is HTC's other headset that uses the base stations and are being manufactured and their controllers. And so let's say you are in the market for a big screen beyond, you'd have to buy controllers and base stations through HTC. And do you see how that might end up being a problem when you could just buy the HTC headset with the base stations and the controllers? And you can even get eye tracking, but you can't get face tracking. It's like so dumb that they did that. They should have just kept the face tracker available. Digressing. That's the other thing. Do we really want HTC to be the prominent PC VR provider? Like, the face tracker is a perfect example. This one's a proprietary one to the Vive Focus series. Only works with the Vive Focus series. The next headset in their stack, the one that actually has the inside out, which one is that one? Is that the Vive Focus? No, the Vive Pro? Something like that. They used to have a face tracker that would work with it. Unfortunately, it's been discontinued and hasn't been in stock for a while now. And anybody who has face tracking who actually used it loved it because you could use it on any headset. You could use it on the Index. And I think that's part of the reason why they got rid of it, is because you could just use it anywhere, which is silly because their trackers are ubiquitous to everything VR. Tundra is another case in which I looked to see if maybe the Tundra trackers were still being sold because they had that cool thing with the dongle. And I thought that would be a meaningful upgrade. And Tundra's been sold out as well for a while. It's like everybody in the space is like either waiting for parts or not currently selling their products. And it's getting concerning. Luckily, HTC is still kicking strong. They're making things like this. This headset has improved tenfold since I've got it. Very much behind the scenes. I'm going to pull back the curtain, so to speak. I got into VR within like 30 minutes with all of my like full body stuff, connecting the direct display port, getting the headset in, getting everything synced up. That process used to take anywhere between an hour to an hour and 30 when I first got this headset, because there was troubleshooting to get the display port to work, to get the display port connected, to get everything working. I haven't had any of those issues. In fact, my syncing issues have been pretty minimal. The one area that HTC could improve on here is getting something that tracks your fingers a little bit better than these controllers. And I do have a third-party solution coming for that. That is by DiverX. And I do think that DiverX is a very interesting company to talk about in this whole thing. DiverX is a Japanese company, and they focus on, they have a bunch of devices to upgrade controllers to hand tracking. Unfortunately, they don't have one for this controller, but they do have one for the Quest Pro, the Quest 3, and the Quest 3S. The thing that I did get from them is a VR tracking glove that should, hypothetically, just work and will give me hand tracking. Despite that being really cool, they do also foresee the same problem. What happens if HTC stops making Vive trackers? What happens if they stop making base stations? And so they actually created their own base station and tracker solution that can be slotted into their own devices. And it works a little bit differently. It does appear to be using not this big spinning lasers that are left over from registers. Like, you know, the thing for the base stations is actually the same mechanic that makes it so that cash registers can scan barcodes. Yep, that is the technology we're using here. And so in many ways, it feels like VR needs to move forward from that. And it also feels like we need a solution that's better than inside-out tracking, right? And so I was hoping that Valve would be that company, that Deckard would be that headset that finally solves the issue, since, you know, Valve's index was pretty good. But with the index sold out, and with rumors swirling that they've dipped out of making the index, I'd have to wonder, is Deckard even coming? Did they even make it to production? And that's what worries me. Is Valve getting out of this hardware? And if they do, where does that leave us? Additionally, we're in this weird situation where like games aren't coming out for VR right now. There are some really cool things that have sort of crossed over. You know, we still have these really cool mods that are being made that allow you to play effectively a flat screen game in VR, and those are awesome. But it's still a mod, and we're not getting that first party support that we desperately need in this space. Meta went in and bought up a bunch of studios to make exclusives for their Meta devices, and while that's cool for them, it is holding back the entire industry. This PC that I'm running can definitely do even more than what it's currently doing, but it's limited because, well, we're limited to the lowest common denominator. So yeah, while I am looking at a effectively 4K image at all times, I think it's like 8K, 4K per eye, right? And my PC is running pretty hard to run it. It's not an image that looks, admittedly, like next gen. This probably looks very much the same on a Quest as it does on the PC. And I don't think that that's a bad thing. Like, I think having this sort of cross compatibility is great. I actually think that VR chat is a good example of a game that can help get people into VR, because if you've got a friend playing in VR and you yourself are not, you'll want to get into VR, and then maybe you get a Quest, and maybe you use the Quest as a stepping stone into the PC. But Meta they walled their garden off in a way that it frustrates me, right? It's Meta and HTC do very similar things, right? So Meta doesn't have the eye tracking on anything but the Pro, and they discontinued the Pro. They don't have the face tracking. So not there. The Quest 3 and 3S, right? Very capable headsets on their own, but neither of them have direct DisplayPort like this one does. And so without direct DisplayPort, you're dealing with a lower quality image than what the system is capable of doing. And so it's like, would my dream headset be one that has all these features, a slightly better processor, and maybe the ability to somehow use outside-in tracking to cover its blind spots? Yeah. But I don't know who's going to make it at this point. My hope was Valve. And I don't know. I really don't know. And that's why I wonder, like, are we putting too much trust in HTC, Meta, and Valve to keep this alive? Do we need to get out of their shadow in order to ensure that VR has a future? And I kind of think we do. Like, I love that big screen exists and that they're making awesome headsets that people actually want to use with features that are great. But they need a base station company to back them up. A base station company that uses the same technology, but is in it not necessarily to take away from Valve, but to be there as a way of supporting headsets that aren't directly tied to HTC or Valve. We need a controller company that is capable of making these cool third-party controllers that have hand tracking and finger tracking. Diver is already making some cool stuff, but they are modifications of existing controllers or they're hand-tracked gloves, which we'll be taking a look at. And I think there's like Shiftall, I think is another one who's working on another controller. We need more of that. We need more advanced features in that so that it makes sense to maybe upgrade your controller. One of the things that people have talked about, the HP Reverb was one that you would use the index controllers and place-based calibration to truly get the best experience with it, right? So maybe we start moving towards that. We move away from this a little bit, this vertical integration, and more into an indie scene in which we are making more of the things we need. I do think that someone like Tundra could make their own base stations, and that could be a selling point in the future. You know, get away from the centralized version that we currently exist in. I've already seen third-party face trackers, third-party eye trackers popping up, and that makes me happy. Third-party hand tracking has existed through Leap for a while now. And so the way I look at it is the future of VR is in our hands. But if we do nothing, it's going to really not take much for Zuckerberg's investors to kick the table out from underneath this house of cards. Because Meta is a lot of VR. Valve is a lot of VR. HTC is a lot of VR. And instead of that, we need more big screens. We need more Tundras. We need more Diver X's and Shiftals. And more importantly, we need somebody to fix the damn base station problem. What do you guys think? I want to know down below. Do you like where we're at with VR? Do you want to see us move past where we're at? I personally think that we do need to move past where we're at, and that we're only going to advance if we can keep moving forward and eventually decentralize everything. Because the vertical integration stuff, it's kind of annoying, like working around the individual stuff. And so that's my opinion on this case. And let me know if you guys are also feeling the same way. Do you feel like we are in a weird spot where all of this is precariously hanging by a thread? A thread that is well built and well connected, but it's still a thread nonetheless. I don't know. This analogy is getting long. I'll see you guys in the next video. Wolfy out.